Hey, welcome back, guys. So in the last video, I walked you through what we are going to be building in this video or in this playlist, right? So um, before we start building anything, I want to show you a quick overview of the Make dashboard, just for you to get familiar with it. So first off, Make is a proprietary software. What it means is it's not open source, right? It's not 100% free. So even though their free tier is quite generous and it's going to be more than sufficient for the purpose of this course, so you're not paying to use it to take this course, or you're not paying to follow along. So you can just create an account, and once you create an account, you're going to come to a dashboard that looks like this. Of course, the actual details are going to be different because I have some automations I've built, and I have some usage statistics, right? So but what you are going to focus on, the most important aspect of this, is the scenarios. Now when you click on this, come to the left, the menu here, click on scenarios. Now a scenario represents one complete automation, and each scenario is built by connecting multiple modules together, as you're going to see. So to actually start building an automation, the first thing you do is to come here and click scenarios, and then you see a list of all the automations or the scenarios that you've built. So each of these are scenarios, and each of them represent a single automation I've built. Now sometimes in some systems you want to build, you might need to connect multiple scenarios, but that's on a really complex side. So but what we're going to do, of course, we're going to build everything in one single scenario, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So first you're going to click on create scenario, and once you do that, it's going to load the scenario editor. So basically the first thing you are prompted to do is to choose a trigger. So trigger is usually the first module in a scenario, and what it means is, in the world of automation, trigger is the action that sets your automation in motion. Right, that's a little bit of a tongue twister. So trigger is the action or the event that causes your automation to start running, because this is an automation, right? It's constantly waiting for that trigger, it's constantly waiting for that event to happen, and once that event happens, it starts running. Take for instance a simple example of automation. It's, let's say, an automatic door that closes when someone walks to it, right? So most of the times the door is closed. Now the trigger is someone stepping within a distance to it. So that is a trigger. It immediately opens, right? So that's how to think of it. Every automation, whether it is no code or whether it was built with code, there is usually some sort of trigger, something that triggers it into action. Now this guy here, um this is asking you to select a trigger. Now our trigger is going to be a form submission or a feedback submission. Once a customer submits a feedback, our automation kicks off. So how does our automation know when someone submits a form? I'm going to show you how. So before we start building a trigger, we want to create our form. So we're going to use a no code form builder um, to create our form, a way for customers to actually submit their feedback. So for that, we're going to use a tool called Tally. Now Tally is a very very smart form builder that allows you to create forms pretty much like Google Form, but I like this one because of some features it has, that you're going to see. Okay, so we're here. Of course, it shows you the list of all the forms you have. Again, you need to create an account if you don't have one, and their free tier, again, is also very very generous. So click on new form. Then you give it a title, so you can call this support feedback, or whatever you want. So once you do that, you click enter. Now you're going to think about the number of fields this form is going to have. So what you really need is the name of the customer, their email, and their feedback. So you're going to say name. Actually, click on the plus icon here so that you select the input type. So let me explain this. Sometimes when you are filling a form, you click an input, it shows you the keyboard set that allows you to type an email. Sometimes you click on an input, it shows you numbers, so you're expected to type numbers. Literally brings out numbers on your keyboard. So this is how you define that. So when the name is going to be short answer, so it's just going to be just strings or string of text. So say name, then we click plus again. So we're going to select input type of email. So say email. So this guy here means it's required. So then we'll say long text. Now I want them to type something a little bit longer than just name or email as their feedback. So I'm going to politely ask them, please share your experience with our services. Okay, so our form is ready. Of course, you can do a lot of customization here. As you can see, you can add the logo, you can add a cover image, you can customize it, change the background, and all that. So but we're not going to do that. You can explore this on your own. What else? Okay, so you can preview it just to see what it's like, but no need. Let's just publish immediately. Now after you've published your form, there are a couple of ways you can use it. You can embed it, you can have it as a pop-up on your website, or you can have it as a full page, right? But what we are going to do is we're going to share it as a standalone page. So we're going to just copy the link, go to a new tab, and then paste it here. And this is our form. So this is where customers will share their feedback. I know it looks very, very minimal and simple. Like I said, you can customize it and make a lot of changes. So let's say name is John Doe, and then we're gonna say JDE at yopmail.com. So for experience, we're gonna say awesome experience. So I just say well done. This is obviously a positive feedback, so I'm gonna submit it. Now when we go to our form again, we are going to go to submissions, and we see that our submission is taken. So you can see the date and time of the submission, the name, the email, and their feedback. So this feedback here is what AI is going to be analyzing to tell us whether the customer is happy or angry, and based on that we're going to take action. Right now, to the integration part, there's something I want to show you. When you go to integrations, you see a number of tools that you can integrate with it, basically. So what we want to do is, remember, when someone submits a form, we want our automation that we're going to be building on Make to be aware of that submission and immediately kick things off. We said form submission is the trigger. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for tally. Now Make has a tally module that allows you to integrate directly and interact with your form. So the action we're going to watch for is new responses. So that's going to be our trigger. Now you can create a webhook, or basically create a webhook is a URL, right? So what you want to do now is to create a URL that Tally is going to send the details of the form submission to. So the URL will be created on Make and passed to Tally. So whenever someone submits a form, Tally sends the details of that form to that URL, and that way our automation has access to that data and can do other things with it. But you don't have to do this manually because we already created a form, and this is a Tally module inside Make. There's a way to do that. So what we are going to do is we're going to select, rather than creating a webhook, we're going to add. We're going to click add, and then we already have a connection between Make and our Tally. So if you don't have a connection, you might want to create one. So I'm going to use my existing connection. So basically, what this is saying is you have to see which Tally account you're talking about, right? Because Make is not going to just connect to any Tally. So you created an account on Tally. You want to give Make access to your Tally account. That's what's going on. So this is Make having access to my Tally account. When you create your Tally account, you probably come to click here and grant that access. Now the next thing you want to do is to select the form. Right now, once Make has access to your Tally account, it wants to know which form, because you probably have lots of forms. As you can see on my Make, I have a lot of forms. If I click on home, you see I have a lot of forms here, so there's so many of them. So this guy wants to know which form am I integrating. So you're going to select this form. So this is customer feedback. This is the one that I want to give it access to, or this is the one I want to watch submissions on. Okay, so I save that. Now it has created the webhook, but you don't have to deal with webhooks. Remember, this is no code, so it's done automatically. When we go back to our Tally dashboard and we go to let's just go back. Now go to integration, you see something changed here. So Make has automatically created a webhook and passed it here, and it's saved here. So that's all you really need to do. The integration is already established between not just your your Tally account, but this particular form that you've created and Make scenario. So we can save that. Now when someone submits a form, our our automation is aware of it, right? Okay, so now that we have that in place, we're going to add the AI module. Okay, so this one is an update. So let's add an AI module, and we are going to select OpenAI, and that's what we're going to be using. Now the other models you can use, but we're using OpenAI because this is pretty much what a lot of people are more familiar with. And the action we are using is chat completion. Yes, chat completion, generated completion. Now again, you are going to have to add your connection. You're going to have to create a connection between your Make account, or this scenario particularly. You're going to create a connection between this scenario you're building and your OpenAI account. Okay, so I already have a connection established. So so first of all, we're going to select a module now, because what we are doing is it doesn't require lots of reasoning. So we're going to use O4 mini, just this one. Now the big part, this is where we define the prompt, right? This is where we tell ChatGPT what we want it to do. Now I already have a prompt defined, so I'm just going to copy it and just here. So I have this prompt. Now there are two prompts you're going to have to define. One is the system prompt, right? Now the system prompt is the general rule that you want to set, or the general rule you want to give, general instruction you are giving OpenAI for this particular system. All right, so this is it. So we're gonna just copy from here down to here, and then we're going to just go over the prompt line by line. So that the prompt says you are a specialized sentiment analysis API. Your sole purpose is to process customer feedback and return structured data. Now, the constraints, you define some constraints. The output must be returned in valid JSON. This is what I was trying to explain when we were doing the demo walkthrough. Now, the sentiment value. So this JSON is going to have two values. One is sentiment. The value of sentiment is going to be either angry, happy, or neutral. The second value that's going to be returned is the summary. So you take the feedback that the customer gave and summarize it in maximum of 15 words, focusing on the core issue. Now, do not include any text outside of the JSON object. Now, this particular line here is specifically important because sometimes when you are chatting with ChatGPT, remember I said there is a difference between how you use ChatGPT as a human being and how you use ChatGPT when you are building systems. When you are building systems, you need to be explicit, right? It's one of the things people quickly find out when they try to learn to code. You realize that you need to be explicit, like you need to pay attention to details. Now, sometimes when you ask ChatGPT a question, or when you say, even if you just give this to ChatGPT and say return a structured response, right? Without doing this, without saying it must be JSON, or without adding other constraint, it's gonna say, okay, here is your response, or here is the JSON. You don't even want to see that here is the JSON. That's why this is important. So you want it to return the JSON and nothing else. Not, okay, this is your response, okay, this is your result, great, let's do it. So all those um, preambles, you don't want to have that. So that's why this is important. Now, yeah, this is solid. This is the system prompt we are using. You can save that. Next, you are going to define, actually, we're not done. Next, you're going to add another message. This is where you define the user prompt. Now, the user prompt is um, the specific input that you are giving to AI for a particular customer feedback. Now, this guy is always going to stay the same, but this one is going to include some dynamic variables that are going to change depending on the details that are actually being submitted by the customer. So um, this one, let's just get the user prompt, and so now this, of course we're not going to include user, I just did user so that you know it's a user prompt. So analyze the following customer feedback. It already knows the general rule, so you are not giving it a specific customer feedback in this user prompt. So analyze this customer feedback. Now you are going to select the feedback from the form submission. So you can see here, now you have access to tally all the details that will be submitted, which includes name, email, and the feedback. So this is the feedback you're analyzing. It's going to be inside this field, and then you're giving it the structure, like an example of what the response is going to look like. You already told it in the general prompt to return it in JSON. Now we are telling it what that JSON is going to look like. Now, for those of you that don't know what JSON is JavaScript object notation. It's a concept in JavaScript programming. You don't have to, go deep into it. It's just a way of formatting data, mostly for system usage, right? So that's what JSON is. So basically, essentially, we have two things here: the sentiment, which is going to be either which is going to be either happy, angry, or neutral, and then we have the summary, which is a condensed version of the entire customer feedback, right? Okay, so I think that's it. That's all that we need. We are not generating image or all of that. We're going to leave the default maximum output as it is, and then we're going to save that. Now always remember to save your scenario, because if you close it without saving it, you lose all your progress. Now something else you can do, because this can shift as you are working, you can move things around, and so you want to realign it to the center. Use this guy here that says auto align, click it. Okay, so let's test what we have. Now when you are building systems, you don't want to wait until you've built everything before you test. You build each module, you test it. Okay, so what we are going to do now is to click run. Now when you deploy this, you're going to turn it on, and it will always run whenever data arrives, whenever customer submits a feedback. But now that we are testing, we're only going to do run once, and then our automation is running. So basically this guy, our trigger, is expecting a form submission. So let's go make that happen. So we'll come here, and then we submit a form. Okay, so let's do this again. Let's say John Doe, let's say JD Ayub mail, the same thing. So this time around we're gonna do a very angry, so it's a terrible experience I had. Okay, so let's leave it like this, and then let's submit. Let's go back, and you can see that our automation ran successfully. So let's see what happened. So Tally got the form submission, so we're going to go to under output, you look at fields, and then you see the name John Doe, the email, exactly the email we typed, the feedback. It says terrible experience I had with your team. So we know that the data capture is working correctly. Now let's see what OpenAI did with that. So usually you can see it immediately under result, but the best for consistent results, you need to go to choices, expand message, and then you will see. So the role is assistant, so you can see the content. So it has the sentiment, of course it's angry, that's correct. Summary, it says customer reports a terrible experience with the team. That's the summary of the customer's feedback, which is very, very correct. So we know that our two modules are working as expected. So we've created our form. We're able to submit the form to trigger our automation. Our automation is currently passing the details in the form to our AI module, and our AI module is doing exactly what we asked it to do. All right, so in the next video we are going to add more modules, to continue to build this into a complete experience. I'll see you guys in the next video.